That can involve shooting for free sometimes. I know that's a controversial topic when it comes to shooting and freelancing. It's a bit tricky to navigate. What's up? All right, so this is a question and answer video. This is going to be a bit of a long video. It's a bit more of a podcast video. So if you want to just listen to this one, put it away, put your headphones in, go to the gym, get a coffee, do whichever you want to do. But yeah, this is going to be hopefully a more common and theme going forward. We'll see. But yeah, kind of just raw and real. I've put out on my story a couple weeks ago looking for some questions for my original video that had my previous video. And yeah, I actually managed to get a decent response from it. So I thought I'd rather give these questions the right answers that they deserve in their own video, and not just kind of brush over them in a different video. So let's get into it. The first question is from Robin, and she says, how long how long did it take to find your first few clients? And look, I've been freelancing a long time as opposed to compared to not just 1 year. I've been freelancing for about 5 years at this point. So I had kind of built my relationships previously, and I didn't kind of go into it blind with no pre-relationships built out. I didn't necessarily have any clients that were giving me consistent income, but I knew for a fact that I had clients that were going to reach out to me. It's kind of a bit of a guesswork, like obviously, but yeah, I had built my relationships through working with people at the agency, and then also just putting myself out there and meeting different creatives. And like if you meet another videographer, he's always going to have more work, or they're always going to have more work for you in the other. It might come back to you. So the more people you meet, the more clients you'll find. And the more people who know about your services, the more clients you'll get. Because if people don't know what you do, how the hell are they going to hire you? So put yourself out there. Don't be shy. And just network and build your relationships. And networking can include anything. It can include if you go to the gym and end up talking to some guy or talking to some person about anything. That includes networking, right? And if obviously you have to mention what your services are, but yeah, just be like, hey, if you're talking about something completely off topic, or about football, or about a sport, you just mention it to them at the end. Oh, by the way, I'm a videographer, so if you ever need help, let me know. And who knows, that simple little word, or that simple little sentence could lead to one of the biggest jobs of your life. You never know. So yeah. Then, the next question is kind of along the same lines. This comes from Pure Probular. I don't know. That's probably just a username. But how do you approach clients? And I'm going to take and understand this in the way, like, how do I get clients, or how do I approach future clients, maybe? And that's a bit tricky, right? The strongest form of marketing is word of mouth at this point, for me at least, and for most people, most freelancers. So I don't necessarily approach too many people, but if there is a company that I want to work with, I will kind of target my approach a lot more than just sending them an email or sending them a text. I'll kind of either message or target the person. Target the person sounds a bit hectic, but target the lead a little more. So let's say it's a company that has a marketing manager, right? And the marketing managers are obviously involved with content, right? So I would kind of either message them on LinkedIn or connect with them on LinkedIn, chat about a couple of things, ask for a meeting, kind of unrelated to it, not really like saying, hey, give me work. It's kind of just chatting to them, kind of getting yourself known out there and working on them a little bit, and then getting them from being a cold lead to being a warm lead. And then who knows, they might ask for something in the future, or you might then at that point directly ask them, being like, hey, I've got this idea for your product, for your service. This is it. This is the value it can provide. And if you've translated that enough, or well enough, I think most people will buy to that point. And then it comes down to just, providing that value and having a good outcome. And then there we go. There's your client. That can involve shooting for free sometimes. I know that's a controversial topic when it comes to shooting and freelancing. It's a bit tricky to navigate, especially when you want to get paid down the line eventually. I mean, providing someone free work is always tricky when you want to get paid after the fact. So yeah, but just be aware of that. So yeah, if you're going to approach someone and a client, target it. Don't just send them an email. Get to know the business, offer them free value, offer them free advice, and then people are much more open to discussion. So yeah. Next question comes from Jaden, and that is, how do you stay creatively strong even though you get burnout sometimes? And this is tricky. I think there's a lot of reasons why people get burnout, but for me, I get burnout for kind of overworking for a long period of time. And I know that sounds simple, like obviously you're going to get burnout from that, but the way to avoid burnout is that simple in a way. You need to stay consistent over a long period of time. And consistency means not working too little and not working too much. It means just working at a basic understanding and pushing when you need to push, but not pushing like full gas, like what's it called? Like all gas, no brakes all the time. That will work for some people. Very rarely works in the long run. I don't think it works for anyone in the long run. But for instance, it can work project to project based. Like I did a project for a company a couple of weeks ago. It involved shooting one of the biggest festivals in the country, and that was it was a 2-day just go. It was great. Worked with some great people. Still some of my favorite memories from that shoot and that weekend by far. So yeah, that was kind of an all gas no brakes scenario. But in essence, set up the right structures, work consistently over a long period of time, and that usually prevents burnout from me, at least. I think in March of this year, I kind of just worked every day of the week, and I burnt out pretty quickly after that period of time. Come end of March, I was just like, I don't want to pick up a camera, I don't want to see a camera, like just get it away from me. And you have to then build that back up, and that can take quite a lot of time and effort. So I think set up the right structures, be disciplined, and work consistently over a period of time. Take your breaks, get distracted by something positive, like going to gym, getting sports, doing something completely different. And it allows you just to, stay chipping away at that idea or that goal or that project or that edit over a period of time, and you should be good, So, yeah. Then, Warwick asks, what's the best strategy from moving from working for an agency to working in freelance? And I think that's tricky. There's no set strategy. I can only kind of talk through my experience. And what I can say is what I did was I was constantly checking my skill levels and kind of testing them to some extent and seeing if I was ready in my own mind to kind of take a project on from start to finish. And I felt as though last year, June, I was kind of hitting that ceiling, maybe a little sooner than that. But yeah, I felt as though I was hitting that ceiling when it came to work and learning, right? I wasn't learning enough anymore. I learned kind of all I could learn in that scenario. So that was A. B was my salary was starting to, my freelance income was starting to increase a lot more than my salary. So, I mean, like what the fuck? So that's like, obviously it's going to be better going freelance if your money's outpacing your salary. Then C is kind of, you need a freelancing cushion, right? So you need to be able to not have income for 3 months at least. Well, what I mean by that is you need to have money saved aside to prevent a 3-month income drought period, right? So ideally, if you could save up for a year, so if you could calculate that you need 15K a month or 20K a month and you can save up a year, that's ideal, I think. But I know for a fact I couldn't do that, especially with how expensive gear is. And I know most people won't be able to do that. So I think 3 months is a good starting period. If you can save anywhere between 3 and 6 months and put that into a high yield savings account, just getting you 8% a month on that just in case something happens, that's great. So have that. So have those three things. Have a skill level that's high enough where you think, okay, I can start to take on projects myself. Have an income, so have current freelancing work that's kind of starting to outpace your full-time income, and then have a freelancing cushion. And once you've got those three things, I think you'll be good. And then you can make that leap. And then if something happens and it doesn't work out, you've got those 3 months to kind of reassess. And if it comes to it, you can find a job again towards the end of the 3 months. Because, I mean, I tried freelancing first in 2022. Towards the end of 2022 and 2023. And it didn't work. And that's okay. Like, it truly is. Like, it might not work the first time. Just be prepared for that. And if it doesn't work, it'll hurt, but you pick up and you just move on. And you try again. But I think I didn't have either of what I said earlier. I didn't have the skills. I thought I had the skills. I didn't have the income. I kind of started from zero. And starting from zero when you need money is very different than starting from zero when you have money. And 3, I didn't have a cushion. So yeah, I had spent it all traveling. So I don't know why. Now that I say it, I don't even know why I gave it a shot. But I was just so adamant of like, I'm going to be freelancing from here onwards. So yeah. Anyways, you live and you learn, eh? So the next one is from Edwards. It says, how do you keep yourself working in normal hours? And this is tricky. Like, for me, I think, as I said earlier, with burnout, this kind of goes inside with that. It's kind of like structured, right? I think if you can stay structured with your work and you can stay consistent with your work, your hours don't necessarily matter. Like, I do the majority of my client work in the middle of the day. So I do it not middle of the day, but between 9 and 5 p.m., right? Purely because it's a lot easier to communicate with clients in the middle of the day, not as opposed to, in the late hours of the evening or the early hours of the morning. So overall, I do most of my work in the middle of the day. I'm pretty structured with that. I'm usually sitting at my desk between 8 and 10 a.m., depending on the day. And then I'm usually still at my desk by come 5 p.m. And in and amongst that, I'll kind of go to gym and do other things. But most of my work is done during that time. And then a lot of my like hard, deep work is done between like 7 p.m. and 10 and like 12 p.m. because you can kind of sit down and focus and no one's going to bother you. So yeah, I mean, first of all, let me get this straight. You're going to be working a lot more when you're freelancing. That is definite. You'll be working longer hours, 100%. But it just feels different when you're working longer hours freelancing as opposed to doing longer hours for someone else at a company. If it's the right company for you, I think then it'll be great. But most of the time it's not. So yeah, that's how I stay motivated to just kind of stay in the normal hours. Is I just set up structures and kind of non-negotiables for me. And yeah, it kind of works for me. But that's my personality. So I know like I'm way better working consistently, slowly over a long period of time as opposed to like these high bursts of work. So yeah, that's me. Then Franco asks, did I create a plan? And was traveling a part of that plan? And did you learn to sell? In other words, like, sell services and sell products. So I didn't have a plan necessarily. I had the 3 things I mentioned, the skill, the income, and the cushion, but I didn't necessarily have a plan. I didn't have a business plan at all. And I didn't know how to sell, and I didn't know how to get people on calls and kind of get them to relay their problem and kind of solve that problem with content enough. And I'm learning that at the current moment. One of my mentors, Tim, he says this. He has this saying to sell is to serve. If you can't serve them, don't sell them. So in other words, like, don't sell something to someone when they don't need it, right? Like, the real problems and the real money is going to be made when there are problems that you can properly serve to people and solve to the people's problems, right? So shout out to Tim for that little piece of advice. And that comes along with kind of learning how to sell, right? So I think that I'm doing at this point in time, and like it's still got a long way to go, so I can't really speak too much on it. But I definitely didn't learn to sell. And then was traveling a part of that plan or a goal? And yes, 100%. So the idea was to buy back my time. And I know I said that you work a lot more when you're freelancing, but you can work a lot more, but you can choose when you work, right? So I don't necessarily have to work in the middle of the day. So for me, I'm able to work when I need to. That can be a blessing and a curse. But for instance, for traveling, it's a blessing because I can now take a couple of weeks off, or at least take the majority of a day, a couple of weeks off at a time to go travel, right? I would have had to apply for leave, and then I would have been locked into that leave for the year. And then if I wanted to take more, it'd be unpaid leave, and then my income's affected. Like, I'm essentially taking unpaid leave at this point, but I'm now, before I travel, I'm working double. So I'm kind of like doubling up on that content and on that income, and being able to like take that and kind of go with a bit of peace of mind come into my travels. So yeah, keep an eye out for that Asia trip. I'm visiting a good friend out there, and it's gonna be a hell of a time. So I'm gonna plan to take this camera on along with. So keep an eye out for that content. Then the next question is from Luanda, and that is, what project did you learn the most from? The project I learned the most from was a long-term project. It wasn't even a project. They were kind of mini projects or individual projects. I shot for a company. We did a coverage of 6 of their events running from September of 2024 to Jan of 2025. And I learned a couple of things there, and I was shooting pretty much the whole time myself, and I was dealing with my own content. So it was live events, music events, and I was shooting and editing. So I had to quickly learn how to turn around and edit on the day, plus editing, well, plus shooting as well. So let's say the event was running from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. I had to learn quickly and on the spot how to kind of shoot and edit that day, have an edit ready that day, and then have an edit ready the next day. So 2 edits, 8 hours of shooting, and in very quick succession, because the point of the content was to be ready next day of, and also have one ready that same day for live posting. So that I learned a lot when it comes to production pipeline and shooting what I need to shoot. I can now take couple of hours of footage and provide a really, really high quality edit because I know what to shoot now. So I had been shooting events in the past, like, don't get me wrong, but I hadn't really done like live editing like as of like the same day and shooting that stuff and getting that stuff out, quickly, but with enough quality. So I learned a lot of that. Then I also learned client communication and how to chat and be upfront with people about beforehand and be proactive to problems as opposed to being reactive. So, for instance, if there was problems with the content, me capturing the content because there was no access to the stage or whatnot, I would say that. I wouldn't throw them the edit and then they'd be like, oh, but why is there no stage footage? I'd be like, well, there was no access, but they should have been like, oh, you should have told me that. So ideally, like, it comes down to being proactive with clients and kind of seeing the problems beforehand, but you won't see the problems beforehand if you don't have the experience. And that's all right. Like, it truly is okay. You'll just need to learn from that in going forward in the future. So when something usually goes wrong when it comes to clients, there's usually something you can learn from that. So yeah, just try to pick out those little pieces and take that in your stride next time. So yeah, I learned a lot from that project. Outside of that, but those are the kind of 2 of the main points. And then Yvonne asks, how did you go about building a client base? And as I mentioned earlier, I'd been freelancing on the side for a while, so my client base was filled with relationships that I had with agencies or with small-scale production houses that were able to bring me on projects. And in terms of like businesses that I had clients, I didn't really have clients that were retainers at all. I have a couple of retainers now, and I've had like retainers that have come and gone in the past. But yeah, I didn't necessarily have a definite client base. So that was a bit risky on my end. But I knew that there was consistent work coming in and out, just basically tracking my income. So I knew that, like, look, over the last 6 months, it's been a bit inconsistent, but I've made more money than I've made at my full-time gig. So, going forward, there should be more. So it is kind of a leap of faith, in that aspect. But yeah, I think, you just got to sometimes do it and trust your gut, because as I mentioned, I had the 3 things that I needed. So I kind of just went from there, really. So yeah, but in terms of building a client base, I said earlier, like, just networking and get your name out there and meet the right people and put yourself out there. And if people don't know what you offer, they're not gonna hire you. So they need to know what you offer, right? Do it on social media, do it on LinkedIn, do it on Facebook. Tell your grandmom's dog that you shoot videos, if you shoot videos or you shoot photos or you do graphic design. Tell everyone. Don't be shy. I know it can be quite cringe, especially when it comes to online stuff, and this can be a bit weird, but yeah, just do it. Like, you are your biggest obstacle when it comes to finding clients, and you just need to, work from there and find out the best one, and the best way to move forward from that aspect. So yeah, I think just put yourself out there and do what you can, Then the next question is, what is one regret you have about the change, so going from full-time agency to freelance, and what was one great but unexpected thing? And I think this is a good question. Let me start with the positive thing first. The one unexpected thing, I think, is that I didn't expect to learn so much as a human from the creative side of people that I've met. In other words, like, the people that I've met have changed me as a human, and has changed the way I work as well. And just learning the different ways of doing things, and it's enhanced my abilities and my career to the point that I wouldn't be where I am now skill-wise and as a human if it wasn't for the people I've met along the way. And it's not to say I didn't expect that, but it's by far been the biggest thing that I'm so grateful for. So I think that's been the biggest positive. The people you'll meet will change your life. I know that sounds obvious now that I say that, duh, But when I started out, I was so just like, I just need to make enough money and we're good. You know what I mean? I didn't think I'd be changing as a human. So yeah, I think that's the positive, and putting yourself out there. It's brought a whole world of views to me and people that I've met, and I really couldn't be happier and more grateful for that. So that is that. And then the regret, I don't know. I really don't think there is a regret. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the decision. Obviously, it's scary, especially in winter, especially when there's no money coming in and you sit there and you're like, damn, that agency salary would be great right now, But it still doesn't make up for the fact that I don't think I have any regrets. Yeah, I really don't. I try to live my life in a way that I don't have regrets. I think that's also not I have regrets. Obviously, everyone has regrets. It'd be very unrealistic to live without any regrets. But most of the time, if there's a regret, I can learn from it, so it doesn't end up being a bad thing in that aspect in the long term. So I think, yeah. To put it plainly, no, I don't have any regrets. I kind of only have positives, but yeah, some are less positive than others. So yeah. Then my dad, my dad asks, "How do you stay motivated?" And that's a tricky one. I think you will be more motivated at times compared to the rest. That's a fact. Don't be mistaken, all these guys you see on socials that are just doing these hard graft months on end, they're not always motivated, right? Especially when it comes to hard, deep work, right? But I think if you've read The Subtle Art before, he speaks about an aspect there where it's just it's called AIM, right? It is action, inspiration, and motivation. And basically it's saying that if you don't take action, you won't be inspired. And if you're not inspired, you won't have motivation. So in that aspect, it's like to be motivated, you need to take action. And let's say you want to, finish a project. If you've got an idea, just start doing that idea. Don't mess around and don't think and don't wait for the weather and do this and do that. Just start with the idea. If you want to shoot these banger sunset shots and get this little like mini sunset film going, just go out, start. If the weather's bad, it's weather's bad. It doesn't matter. Just go out, start. It will inspire you, it'll motivate you, and it'll keep going from there. So I think take action, don't sit around and wait for it, and you'll kind of figure it out. Then, how do you, if ever, deal with clients ghosting you after hearing your pretty fair pricing? That comes from Luca. And that's a tricky one, bro. I think if you've sent a quote to a client and they've completely aired you, I think it's on you in some aspect, because you haven't explained to them as much as you should have about why you've valued that problem at that much. So I think you need to work with the client to understand, okay, why is it costing this much? Does it need to cost this much? And if it is a simple fact of like they want you to shoot their event and they have a budget of 5K, but you 10K, it's like, well, can that budget of 5K work for you in other ways? Can it, get introductions to other people that, for instance, like that event that multitude of events that I shot over this, like September through Jan of last year, the pay wasn't incredible. It was not nothing. Let's put it out there. It was a decent amount, but it wasn't my set rates. And it didn't include some travel here and there, so I had to cover that on my end sometimes. So that didn't pay well in terms of monetary, but it paid well in terms of network and the CV aspect of it, right? It's called investing in the job. My mentor, Tim, also says this, and it's like the right jobs are worth investing in your time and your effort into if it's not monetary, right? This can be free, but it's usually covering some expenses and then, getting the rest of value in introductions, networks, creatives, friends, people, content, portfolio pieces. You can turn a 10K job into R1 million if you meet the right people, but you might have said no to that job if you saw the budget of 10K, but you charged 20. So anyways, went a bit of a tangent there. If you've quoted a client and they've just completely aired you, there's a couple reasons. But if it comes down to the fact that they just can't afford it, then they can't afford it. And if you're not willing to invest in that job to the point where it's worth it for you, then just don't do it. And if they've aired you and you're trying to get back into contact with them, I'd say call them. A lot of people nowadays don't call. And if people get a call, they're a bit taken aback in a good way. Then I think, okay, this person really cares about what they offer and what they do. So that's an object or a thing you can do as well. So kind of follow up. Don't be scared. Follow up like all the time. If you send a quote, no response in a day, send them a follow-up being like, hey guys, send over the quote, let me know if you got it. And then if they still don't follow up, then follow up again and keep going. And eventually you'll realize, okay, they don't want to. Or if they're completely airing you, then just eventually cut your ties and just move on and work on a new one. And yeah, I think that's it in terms of questions. I think, that's it. So if you like this and you want me to continue to do this, let me know down in the comments. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, do that. I've also got, they're all down below in the description. If you've got, if you want to stay a bit more updated, that's better. Way more active on IG. TikTok's down there too, but I don't really use TikTok. Let's be real, it's for the young kids. So yeah, if you, let me know if you want more, and I'll definitely bring this and be a little more consistent with this kind of style. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, and thank you for being a part of the journey. And again, I'll say this almost every time, is like, take that step and open that first door, because you truly never know where it's going to leave you and lead you. And you wouldn't believe me if I told you where it could go. So yeah, don't be scared. Anyways, cheers.